Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk and the Optimal Health Community Time. We are so glad that you're here, that you're tuning in, that you're investing in yourself and in your journey. My name is Rachel Richards. I've been a part of this community for over 7 years, have enjoyed every minute of just being amongst people that are looking to create something new. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Our topic tonight is let's and have healthy choices, be a part of this growth mindset of we're done with dieting, we're not problem our way into health. We are going to create something new that we can do anywhere in every season of life. And tonight we are going to really challenge your mindsets, your skill sets, and some of the actions that you'll be able to take to really step into the breakthrough of what you've always wanted to have. So lean in. We would love to have your full attention. We thank you for joining. I will be checking the chat, and Allie and I are going to keep this super interactive after I go over this big idea for tonight. So everything we do, we couch it in mindset, skill set, and actions, right? So the mindset that we want to take on tonight is one of a growth mindset. We want to have the equanimity, right? Big fancy word for being able to be empowered and in a flow state with your journey. Put a 1 in the chat if you have done a stop, start program or two in your life where you're like, I stop it and I start it, right? Lots of ones. Me too, right? Me too. So I decided many years ago that I was tired of that. And I wanted something more. I wanted a flow state. I wanted to become a healthy person instead of a person that was on a diet. And I had done that, and it was really not good for my mind or my body. So I hope tonight that you can embrace this flow state of being able to plan ahead, pivot, right? Sometimes we have to pivot. We have to be nimble. We have to be flexible in order to lean and green, both in a takeout or a dine-in setting, on vacation, in a holiday season, during birthdays, anniversaries. Just think of all of the excuses that have kept us from having this breakthrough, right? And so tonight we get to eliminate, maybe we don't eliminate all the excuses, but every week that you tune in, you're going to eliminate more and more of the excuses because your mind is going to get as healthy as that body. So keep tuning in. Actions, right? The actions that we take, we either win or we learn. Every single time you win or you learn in a growth mindset. So tonight we're going to give you some very practical, tactical things once Allie and I get into the ping pong of this call, and we will help you to have skill sets to be able to do that. So we get a chance to apply. Sorry, I have a typo in my slide. Any Graham and Marians caught that? We get a chance to apply learning every 3 hours. Pretty soon you can have apples every 3 hours. So let's move forward with this. I want to really talk tonight about the ability to be creative. Okay. I want you to think about creating and how that has such a high energy when you're creating versus when you're addressing a problem, right? I have this problem. I was just invited out to brunch, but I'm in this nice strong fat burn and I'm afraid to go to the brunch, right? We're approaching it like a problem. And so it becomes an opportunity when you leverage creativity. Creativity, by definition, means leveraging a perceived limitation. Our social gatherings, does anybody put a five in the chat? If you're like, yeah, social gatherings, I feel like my current reality is that could be a problem for me, or that could be a temptation for me. I see lots of fives. Awesome. We are talking to you tonight. We want to give you something new tonight. So health, in health, right? You look at all the influencers and things that go on, and God bless everybody that's trying to help in health, but sometimes it's presented to you as if it's a problem. Okay, you have a problem to solve instead of something that you get to create that's new. Why are we talking about eating out on this podcast tonight? Because here's your current reality. Most Americans are eating 50% of their intake out. So you think about all the places we grab coffee and vending machines and food trucks and different things that go on, and you go, wow, 50% of my eating is subject to eating out. So if I don't master this skill set and I expect breakthrough in my health, I could be disappointed, right? So this is a beautiful opportunity. A person that's on a diet, they're only temporarily avoiding those foods, those places, those spaces, and they're waiting to return to them when their diet is over. And that is very different than what an optimist does, right? We are always on the move. We're always living our life, creating life, and eating out is just something we do, and we do it with a growth mindset. So let's explore this from a creator's mindset. And I would love to bring on my co-host and my friend, Allie, and she and I are going to talk through this and give you some really practical tips. So Allie, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, so rewind a little bit. Obviously, you've got your mindsets, your skill sets, and your actions, and you truly do, because I get to know Allie in a day-to-day setting. She really is someone that is optimizing. She's not perfect, right? She has, just like all of us, but she's in the phase of like, this is my lifestyle. This is just who I am. I am now a healthy person that goes camping. I'm a healthy person that goes out to eat with my friends and my family. So my question for you is though, did you ever catch yourself overthinking in your earlier stages of program, what it was like to go out or camp, or did you find yourself nervous in that at all in the beginning?
For sure. In the beginning, the eating out part, I don't know that we did a lot of, I started in Tennessee and it was too hot to camp. But the eating out part, yes. My wife started program first and we both, I know I was kind of like, let's just eat. And of course, there's so many good recipes. It made it easier to cook at home and cheaper. But I was a little bit afraid. I was to go out just to keep it safe. We stayed in for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that when you're getting started laying that foundation. When you learn a lean and green at home and hey, we're talking about protein, we're talking about something green on my plate, and we're talking about some healthy fats. When you master that at home, and some of us, this is really key. Some of us, our challenge is to learn to go out and lean and green. For others of you, let me hear those that are like, that's not my challenge. Put a three in the chat. If you're like, my challenge is I need to learn how to cook, right? So where's all no, I can eat out and lean and green just fine. But it's the home cooking that intimidates me. And so we want to provide so much value to you guys on being able to feel like your skill sets are developing. So Allie, talk to us a little bit about some of your most practical tips. Like, have you ever had to go off menu to stay in fat burn? Maybe you found yourself somewhere like that. I just want to hear some of your tips that you would give our audience tonight around mastering this and really making it something that they don't need to be intimidated by.
Yeah, so I think my biggest advice, and from what, hindsight's 2020, we've learned so much. I have learned so much, is don't overthink it, which is easy to say now, being an overthinker. But I can remember times when I was invited out for a lunch or whatever with friends, and I was nervous again. And so sometimes I would just have a bar, have my water either with me or I'll have it right before. And then just drink water and kind of, I feel like those are opportunities for us to speak our truth, because, we always talk about don't diet in the dark. So if I do bring my bar and have my water in the presence of my friends, they might be like, what are you doing? Don't you want to eat here? Da, 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 da. I find that you get a good opportunity to speak your truth because we shouldn't hide, and it gives us practice at believing in what we're doing and seeing that it's okay to say no, I'm good. Like right now my goals, I'm on track. I want to be here with you. I want to connect, but I don't need to eat. I got that part taken care of. And so I had done that, both either eat before or eat, what I brought during. um and then there's times when learning from other people that I heard from in Optavia on different calls. I was very hesitant to order food and say, please don't cook it in butter, or I was kind of embarrassed to request that. But when I heard other people make it so normal, why can't I order my food how I want it? I tried it once or twice. And of course, the real fact is we don't know what they're doing in that kitchen, but hey, we can speak up for ourselves and we can, order it with some of the stuff that we don't need, whether it's a spice or a sauce or whatever. So,
Absolutely. And you think about, yeah, I mean, when you think about the lean and green, right, we're really starting with protein and then we're going to something green and then our healthy fats. And I would say you just hit the nail on the head. The things that we have to pay attention to that we didn't before, it was estimated that prior to program, we were getting about 600 extra calories from condiments, guys,
oh,
condiments a day. If you think about, okay, what do I put in my coffee? What's on top of the hot chocolate? What's going on the salad? When we see those salads that are on these menus, right? And they're like, wow, do I get the burger? Do I get the salad? And you analyze the salads, the bacon bits, the eggs, the avocado, the blue cheese. How many healthy fats is that? And how many condiments is that by the time you dress it, right? So salads can be 1,200 calories and they can be sneaky little fat busters, right? So we do want to be really mindful of like those type of things and making sure that we look out for that. So what are some of the things now that you would say when you say keep it simple? Talk to us about that. So when you go out to eating, with your family, how do you keep it simple and give yourself more or less the best guarantee you can that that's a lean and green?
it's surprising how easy it has become. And of course I made it that way. I decided like I like this. It makes me feel good. I'm not feeling super guilty about when I walk out of a restaurant, but probably the easiest, most simple is concentrate on a protein, whichever one you want. And then every plate seems to come with a starch, a pasta, a rice, a potato of some sort. I just forgo those. And even if there's an upcharge, which there usually is, I just have them replace that with an extra serving of veggies. And that one simple little step, it makes me feel good, honestly. Not necessarily physically good. It makes me feel good in my mind, like confidence wise, like I can do this, it's kind of like give myself a pat on the back. And then of course I just drink water all the time. I really don't drink a lot of alcohol, but I mean, there were lots of times I used to, have a beer with dinner. But then what I noticed is that beer would fill me up so much I couldn't even finish my dinner. And so without that, go for the protein, go for the veggies, drink the water, I'm full and I'm happy.
Absolutely. And you and I talked earlier today. I think this is a key point that you've woven in is there's the empowerment triangle, right? Where we're empowered, our language is empowered, the psychology of our eating is empowered. We talked about that empowerment triangle, right? Versus this disempowered victim mentality that we can take into our journey. And it's sneaky, right? You don't always notice it, but you were saying things like, oh, when we sit at the table and we say, I can't have, right? You were mentioning that earlier. So, talk to me a little bit more about this growth mindset empowerment piece versus the disempowered person at eating out with friends. Can you kind of paint that for me with through all your coaching as well?
Yeah, I think for when I look back, I've been with the community for 5 years, and I look back at just different scenarios I've been in, and then clients too that I've helped. It really changes the game when you tell someone or tell ourselves, like, don't say that you can't have that cupcake or that cookie or that glass of wine, because you absolutely can. We just have to be honest with ourselves and look inward and, kind of say, is this going to help me towards my goal or is it not? And of course, like you said in the beginning, we're either going towards our goals or at least by all means still learn in that moment. And so I can remember one time going to a kid's birthday party, and this was a couple of years in. I was way past my initial weight loss phase and whatnot. And I chose to have a fueling beforehand. And of course, we got in there, there was pizza, there was cupcakes, and I'm a sugar addict. The first time I heard that, I thought it was a joke, but and then I realized, no, that's me. That's for sure me. But right away, my friends were like, aren't you going to have a cupcake? And I said, no, actually, I got goals, girl. I got goals. That's what I said to my friend. And she didn't bat an eye. She was just like, all right, cool. And it made me want to give myself a pat on the back. Like, yes, it's okay to like say no. It's okay. Um, Whereas in the opposite, we could blame everything. Well, I was at a party and they kept asking me, don't you want a cupcake? And I felt guilty. And that's just so much mindset work over the last 5 years. I would have cared a lot if someone would have, said that to me 5 years ago. And thankfully that particular friend didn't. But it's now it's my journey, it's my life, it's my why I want to be healthy. And the more I speak it into existence and keep it in the forefront, of my intentions, it helps me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get, you think of this in context. So I don't want to tell my friend who made these nice cupcakes that I don't want to hurt her feelings or not partake, right? That's a quite literally that's like a victim blame, right? So when you're in that triangle, you're a victim and you're blaming versus saying, you know what, I'm going to have my fueling before, drink the water, and when I go to the party, I'm going to get social nourishment. I'm going to be more present. I'm going to engage with all the people because I won't be tied up at the snack table. And I might even help clean up because I have all this energy from fat burn and I'll be a good friend in that way. Being a good friend doesn't mean I have to forsake my goals. It means that I'm showing up in a different way, owning my elections. I really heard you say that is like own your elections. I think you said speak your truth. And that is so true that you are creating something new in your life. So the social nourishment is so very important. Also, there's times where we have these beautiful flavors of home, right? So I've had a lot of people that are going to go camping and they'll take their fuelings. They'll take maybe a couple of beef sticks to get a little extra protein, hard boiled eggs, right? They're flavors of home. So sometimes, actually, for me, I travel quite a bit. I've noticed that I'm better away from home than I am even at home. And so that's one of the things that, we want to talk about as well. I know I've admired that, like on your road trips and stuff like that, you're like, I can make a lean and green anywhere. Talk to us about your most simple on the road lean and green because I think it's kind of impressive and easy to do.
Yeah, so I mean, you see my social media, we drive a lot, and I just over the last couple of years, I've started to memorize the numbers of weights, like just plain cucumbers, mini bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, like some of those numbers I just know in my head as far as weighing them on the scale. So I already know and those are three of my favorites, by the way, mini cucumbers. I already know if I throw some of that in a baggie times two, then I have my greens for the way to where I'm going at some point. And then, of course, I have fuelings in the car. And then for my way back and wherever my destination is, I'll just stick whatever I have in the fridge. And even for my kids, they like Subway. They like sub sandwiches, no particular establishment. But this time I went to the store and I actually bought them like hoagie rolls instead of like hamburger buns or whatever. And I made them and I'm saving, $20. And when we pull over to a gas station or a rest stop, we just whip it up real quick for them and get back in the car and go. And I'm snacking on my cherry tomatoes or whatever. And sometimes I might have actually cold chicken, like leftover chicken, rotisserie chicken, or cooked chicken at home that we've made. I don't mind eating that stuff cold. I'm super simple in that way. So I've brought that to a movie theater once. I brought Mean and Green to the movie theater. I did.
I've heard of pistachios at the movie theater, but you got to count those babies out. I think it's 8 or something, but I haven't seen the chicken, the rotisserie chicken coming out of the bag. I love
Yep.
it. That is,
Baggies.
hey, that is goals, you guys. I love that. It is so good. So let's talk a little bit. We'll get some practical stuff going here, but skill set wise, a lot of what we get now with Yelp, you guys, we have no excuse. We can go on Yelp, we can look at things, and present options to our friends, like, hey, you guys want to go out Friday night? I'm gluten free, right? I have something that makes me gluten free. I have never had my friends say, no, we are going to go eat gluten only and you get to have nothing, right? So is it any different when you've got these incredible goals? You can go on Yelp, know before you go. Going off menu is a way to grow. If you see, like, oh, we're going to Italian, right? It looks like all pasta. That's what your eye is going to see at first. But dig deeper. Do they have salmon? Do they have a nice fish, a brazzini? What's on the menu that is lean and protein, and what veggies are in the dishes that you could just ask for more of, as Ali has said. So sometimes you got to go off menu, right? You go a little rogue, off roading, and you're just kind of asking the waiter or waitress, can I get a nice piece of salmon, some double broccoli, and I'll have the olive oil on the side because I'll drizzle it. And so, yes, these are just some easy ways to do that. So, asking your waiter or waitress, going on Yelp beforehand, they always have the menus, right? So now we live in a world where we have the menus online. We can fish around and find something that is suitable. Asking the waiter or waitress, what do you have that's green, right? It's just easy. They can say, well, we have a dinner salad. Awesome. I'll have that dinner salad and I'll have a chicken breast grilled. No oils, please, just plain, just chicken and a dinner salad. And I'll dip my fork in that dressing, as to not go crazy. Because one thing I do want to tell you guys is, practically speaking, when we look at all the coaching that we've done, it's really the fats and the condiments that will blow your caloric budget for being in that deficit to burn that body fat. And what am I really saying? So, just some numbers for you. Fat has 9 calories per gram, carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram, and protein has 4 calories per gram. So, where we see the meal go sideways is going to be too many fats, too many condiments. Okay, so you'll want to really mind that. And then asking them, like, you're moving down the list, I want you guys to think, everywhere I go, I'm starting with my protein. How many of you have put a 6 in the chat if you've tried to make a shrimp lean and green eating out, and you've ordered the shrimp Caesar or the shrimp fajitas, right? Put a 6 in the chat. What you're going to see is about 6 shrimp, okay? And that is not enough. You've missed your protein. What do? Do you panic? Oh my gosh, this is not enough protein. No, you can pivot. Remember, we pivot, we plan, and we move forward. So you can always eat fueling and try to get that protein up in the car on the drive home, but you don't want to miss that protein altogether. So if you want to order shrimp, you're going to have to pay the extra charge or order a small chicken breast with it, because with the cost of food eating out, there is very little chance that they're going to give you the adequate amount of shrimp for that lean and green. You're probably going to get slighted there. Okay. So I'd love to know, let's put in the chat, what, now that we've talked about the area of the lean and green that has the most risk, that's going to be your fats and your condiments and the sneaky sauces and the marinades, right? You want to look out for that. But we definitely don't want to be afraid of going out to eat, because you're turning into a healthy person. When Allie sits down at the table, she is looking at that menu from the eyes of a healthy person and figuring out, what does a healthy person eat when they're out at eating Mexican food or Italian food or Asian food. She's saying, I'm a healthy person in this restaurant. What shall I order? And she's making those best choices. I love, somebody just said Colombian food. So awesome. So let's talk about, just put in the chat quickly. I'm going to check this and we're going to give you guys some quick ideas on which ethnicity is the most challenging for you. So put Italian, Mexican, American, where do you find the most challenge? Okay, so we're gonna start with Italian. Again, you're gonna have, it's a pasta place, right? Their food costs are centered off of it being mostly pasta, but most Italian restaurants offer fish. Okay, so you'll want to ask if there's a nice cut of fish and some vegetables, or a Caesar salad, usually, right? No croutons, and throw some shrimp and chicken on it, or some type of lean meat, right? Almost always you can get that Caesar salad, eliminate the croutons, dressing on the side. Parmesan cheese is a nice lean protein as well, and you're going to need to top it with some protein. I'm going to go to you, Allie, for Mexican. Do you have any of your top tips for, all right, we're out at Mexican and I don't want to break my fat burn, I'm in a groove here. Where would you help us go?
I usually, when we do, I do fajitas, and I just skip and I'm not going to tell you that it's easy, because I love chips with queso and stuff like that, but skip the chips, and just the fajitas, because it's just meat and usually bell peppers. And so, and I'd be drinking a lot of water at those Mexican restaurants to like help curb when the chips are out. But yeah, that's usually at Mexican, that's what I do. And then no tortillas or anything like that, which I'm fine with, because usually the meat and the bell peppers is delicious.
Absolutely. So that's great. And you can work off that little boat that they bring you, right? You just don't want to go crazy on the sour cream and the guac. You want to just be
Yeah.
mindful. Those are some of the healthy fats, especially if those fajitas were soaked in a bunch of oil. You already got your fat in there, right? So you want to kind of watch that boat. Asking for, I love what's in the chat. Steamed fajitas, ask for mushrooms and extra vegetables in there. Ask for a dinner salad, and then just take that fajita meat and put it all over that dinner salad, right? So it's all about that growth mindset. I think when we are in a diet mentality, we're looking for the out. Oh, I can't order anything here. I'm just going to have to cheat, right? And we eliminate that word at Optavia. There's no cheating. We have foods that make us feel bad, and foods that make us feel good. But no food is bad, nor does it make us bad, right? We need food, and food is something that we learn to interact with. So we could say, if I eat this meal, it's not going to make me feel great. It doesn't make me bad, though, right? I'm not bad because I ate something off plan. And again, it's a flow state, guys. We're staying in a flow state of like every 2.5 hours, I get to create something new. So if you do make a choice that didn't necessarily align with your destination, you're just going to pick it up in a few hours and eat something nutritious and keep it moving, right? So that's really what we wanted to cover tonight. So many things. You're at an American restaurant, you can always get that turkey burger wrapped in lettuce, side of broccoli. There's always a way to win. I'm 7 years in this community, and I have really never been to a restaurant where I couldn't find something to eat. And early on, when my fat burn was so momentous, Sometimes if I did feel there was just too many obstacles, I did what you did, Allie. I would just fuel and drink my water and enjoy my friends and let them know that I was fine. I'd never played that victim card to get everybody's pity, right?
Right.
So that's just
Yep.
below the line kind of stuff. And girl, like you said, with the chips, sometimes you got to stop, challenge, and choose.
Yes.
And you do, you just stop and go, wait a second, if I get my finger in there, it's going to keep going in there. Maybe I'll ask for a side of cucumbers with some tahini, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
some bubble water, something exciting. So
Right.
we could talk all night. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for your practical tips. Please, guys, join us on our podcast channel because next week, the design of Optavia, the architect of Optavia is Dan Bell. He's one of my favorite people. I love his quote that ties this all together. Thy shall not fool thyself, right? Love that growth mindset. So if you like Dan Bell isms and you want to hear the beauty behind how he offered and created our model and why we chose this way of helping people, tune in next week. You will be inspired. He's an amazing speaker and just straight from the heart. So with that, we will see you guys next week, and thank you for joining us. Have a great night.